walk down almost any public street right now and you'll see it. Bright colours, very sweet smells, devices that look more like toys than nicotine products. Vapes have become so normalized in public life that we have stopped asking a really important question. How did we get here? And more importantly, what is this doing to an entire generation? If you're new here, please be sure to subscribe down below and like this video. It really helps to grow the channel, and I do appreciate all the support in helping grow this little corner of the internet. Let's get into the video.
Vape, or I'd always have a bit of someone's vape if they're around, and then it turned into, oh, I'll just buy my own one. Then it turned into anyway, so then I would then it ended up I was buying a vape. Then I'll be like, oh, I might have a vape for a week and I might not have one for 6 weeks, and then I'll start again. And then I was always felt like I'm in control. Have a vape, not have a vape. Then it realised it got to a point, it's like I literally had a vape hanging out my mouth 24/7. It was so, I was giving myself the ick.
Yeah.
I would constantly be like this, where's my vape, where's my vape?
So the normalization of vaping. Vaping didn't enter culture that quietly. It arrived as a safer alternative to smoking, a modern replacement for cigarettes, something cleaner, something a lot less harmful. But over time, I don't think it's just replaced smoking in some spaces. It has built an entire new identity of its own.
Why is everybody a vapist now? Or if you're hard of hearing, I'm not talking about footballers, there was a V at the front. Where did vapes actually come from? Like, I know you can get them from the Boss Man now, but what's their origin? Like e-scooters, one day they all just spawned in and we went, sweet, I guess we're using scooters now. Except I don't insert an e-scooter into me unless I've had a very bad crash or I'm very lonely. Can't catch a break. I'll be walking down the street thinking, oh, I can smell a sweet bakery. I might grab myself a pastry. That sounds quite, oh, there's Kyle. He's got his vape on and he's kicking up a cloud of donut sizzle.
Today, vaping isn't just about nicotine use. It's become a part of aesthetics, social behaviour, and even youth culture. And I think one of the biggest reasons for that, design, flavour, and ultimately accessibility.
As you can see here, you've got, you know, fun flavours like
a
pink
rainbow
lemonade, a rainbow, yeah, a rainbow of colours, rainbow of flavours, pink lemonade, blue raz, you know, cherry ice, all of these kind of things. How these cannot be looked at as being aimed at children, I don't know.
I think there is a massive problem when it comes to flavours. I think one of the most controversial aspects of vaping is how it has been presented. Fruit flavours, sweet flavours, mint, ice, bubblegum style options.
Oh,
I'm on fire. Lovely, lovely. Oh, could you imagine my kids seeing me smoke?
I think the companies are cynically marketing these towards younger people, particularly when you look at the flavours.
What, smoke? You know I don't smoke. Oh, it's not bad, actually.
Get that rubber off.
Oh.
Flavour-wise good. If you're trying to give up smoking, that is very pleasant.
Oh, it's not bad, actually. It's quite a nice flavour, cherry. Not that I would buy it. Would kids buy this? You could end up with cancer, though, couldn't you, if it goes to your lungs? At my age, I want to live. I don't want to die.
According to public health data, the vast majority of young users have reported using flavoured products. In fact, studies are consistently showing that younger audiences are consistently using those flavoured products. And this is where the concern is really starting to rise, because public health sectors are really pointing out that the flavour availability is one of the key reasons why young people are turning to vaping.
Oh, this is my son. Don't play with me right now.
It doesn't just make the product more appealing, it changes how the product feels like. It's not just something to be addicted to, it becomes something consumable, almost like a snack, and something that feels harmless. But underneath the colours and the flavours is nicotine, a highly addictive substance that can impact brain development in adolescents and young people.
So you were rushed into hospital, you was admitted. They looked at your lungs and one of your lungs was so bad that you had to be put into an induced coma.
All I remember was I went in, they done my vitals.
Yeah.
And heart rate, everything was perfect.
Yeah.
My oxygen was low, so I texted my mummy and said, can you come down, my oxygen's low. And then next thing I was in the x-ray room, they done it, and then I got put into like a wee side ward kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And all the doctors came around and looked at it and were staring at me. So then I started panicking and then started texting my mummy and my friends saying, I'm in hospital, I don't know when I'm getting out or if I'm getting out.
The doctors then showed me the x-rays where one lung was working, one wasn't. Explained that vaping is probably what exacerbated the asthma. And she needed 24-hour care, so they explained she was going to have to go to ICU. And while they were there, while they said half an hour to get her settled, it took 4.5 hours.
Yeah.
At this stage, I thought Sarah was dead.
Health authorities consistently warn that nicotine exposure during adolescence can really affect attention, learning, and ultimately long-term brain development. And that's where the concern really shifts from trend to long-term impact.
Dr. Troutman, can vaping as a minor cause permanent effects?
Absolutely it can. Let's talk about two of them. First, the developing lung tissue. You can imagine if you are inhaling chemicals that are not meant for your body and you have developing lung tissue, that can cause permanent damage. Secondly, the habit of taking a substance that's illegal at that age develops a desire and a habit to potentially do it with more serious substances later on. So it creates a habit in that young person that might lead to further harm and damage with other substances.
Addiction, of course, doesn't always start with intent. It often starts with something being normalised, a social habit, a casual device, something that doesn't feel like smoking at all. But how did vaping become so popular? Unlike cigarettes, vaping didn't just gain popularity through traditional advertising alone. It grew through social media influence, peer sharing, aesthetic packaging, and viral visibility. Research is showing that the exposure to vaping content online is strongly related to an increase in intention to use these products amongst younger people. In other words, seeing it repeatedly online makes it feel very normal. And when something does feel so normal, it makes it really hard to question it. I think there is a very striking comparison that does come up when you discuss vaping, and that is the early cigarette advertising.
You know, if you were to follow a busy doctor as he makes his daily round of calls, you'd find yourself having a mighty busy time keeping up with him. Time out for many men of medicine usually means just long enough to enjoy a cigarette. And because they know what a pleasure it is to smoke a mild, good-tasting cigarette, they're particular about the brand they choose. In a repeated national survey, doctors in all branches of medicine, doctors in all parts of the country were asked, "What cigarette do you smoke, doctor?" Once again, the brand named most was Camel.
And that he is. He's Pete Runnels, Boston Red Sox, winner of the 1960 American League Batting Championship. Like so many great athletes, Pete Runnels is a Camel smoker. He says he's tried many other brands through the years, but they all taste flat compared to Camel. How about the cigarette you're smoking? Do they give you all the taste and all the satisfaction you want? Or are you smoking more these days, but enjoying it less? Then change to Camel. The Camel blend of costly tobaccos has never been equaled for the satisfaction you want every time you light up. No question about it, the best tobacco makes the best smoke. Have a real cigarette. Have a Camel.
Before the health risks were widely understood for smoking, smoking was also marketed as stylish, calming, socially desirable, and arguably even aspirational. I think we now look back at those ads and really understand how powerful they were in shaping behaviour. And critics online are now arguing that vaping, design and marketing is following a very similar pattern. They aren't necessarily promoting vaping or cigarettes, but promoting a lifestyle that is associated with the nicotine use. Bright packaging, flavours that don't feel like tobacco, devices designed to be carried, shown and shared. It doesn't look like the smoking epidemic that people grew up around. That is exactly why it has felt slightly different. I think one of the most notable cultural shifts is just how visible vaping has become amongst younger people. Since its rise, e-cigarettes have become one of the most popularly used nicotine products amongst adolescents in several countries. And while overall usage trends have fluctuated over the years, concerns remain focused on how early exposure happens and who is being exposed to it first. Because when something becomes part of everyday youth environments, schools, social spaces, online content, it stops feeling like a health behaviour and it just starts feeling like a normal habit. Health organisations globally are trying to convey the message that vaping is not harmless. E-cigarettes do contain nicotine and other substances that can carry health risks, including respiratory and cardiovascular concerns. There is ongoing research into long-term effects. And while some argue that vaping may play a role into some adults stopping smoking, the concern remains about youth dependency and the uptake in young people vaping, especially when the usage is starting before adulthood. The vape epidemic is not just about the product itself, it's about perception. When something tastes like a sweet, it looks like a tech gadget, and is widely visibly sociable, it stops being processed like a negative health product whatsoever. And that disconnect between perception and reality is where the public health concern is really beginning. We are walking down the streets and you're constantly seeing empty vape cartridges. You are seeing 13-year-olds walking around with vapes in their hand, and they're like an adult dummy. People are constantly carrying them, and I'm not trying to bash people who are using them. I think this is a much broader issue than just the people consuming, but how are we not concerned about this when we are seeing history repeat itself? I don't think the story with vaping is just as simple as good or bad. It does sit in a lot more complicated space, a space between harm reduction, modern marketing, youth culture, and addiction science. But one thing is clear, vaping hasn't just replaced cigarettes. It again has changed the way nicotine is put into everyday life. And now the question isn't just how popular it's become, it's what kind of normal are we creating around it? I would love to know your thoughts down below. Do you agree with what I've said? Do you think vaping is as big of a problem as it's been made out to be? Do you think there should be stricter laws around this? How are you seeing as many young people vape as I have been seeing? I am very concerned about how popular it is amongst the young people. If you did enjoy this video, please be sure to like it and subscribe down below. I'm trying to grow this little corner of the internet and I would love for you to be a part of that journey. Thank you guys so much for watching and I will see you in the next one.